Hi, you're on the Alice Reddit Stories channel. Subscribe to my channel as well as to my Facebook, the link is in the description. Enjoy watching. We are a healthy couple, but of course we have fights that growing couples have. And obviously, we both have our flaws. My boyfriend tends to be the jealous type. It is not in a way that he doesn't trust me, it is more in a way that he doesn't trust other people. Now, for the story. Here's some background first. Before I met my boyfriend, I had already made a lot of new friends in the city I had just moved to. My roommate at the time was a very social person, which led me to meet a lot of people. One of them, let's call him John, was somebody I had hung out with for months before meeting my boyfriend. It was always platonic, and I never gave a second thought about him. In fact, he was actually interested in my roommate and my other friend at one point. He has never flirted with me, touched me in any way, or tried to make any moves on me in the entire year that I've known him. In fact, I have never hung out with him alone ever. I have only ever hung out with him in groups. Since me and my boyfriend started dating, John has always been supportive of our relationship. Whenever I see him, he asks about my boyfriend. Whenever he invites me to do something, it is always an invitation for both of us. Quite honestly, we haven't hung out nearly as much since I started dating my boyfriend. Multiple things factored into this, including my roommate moving away, me moving to a different neighborhood, and our friend groups drifting apart. However, when we do run into each other, it is always fun and nothing has changed about our friendship. For context, my boyfriend has brought up concerns about John before. He told me he's not used to his girlfriends having guy friends, and at first it made him a little uncomfortable to see me close to another guy, even if it was platonic. I assured him that neither of us have ever had any type of feelings for each other, and that there's nothing to worry about. He's just one of those guys that you can always count on to go out drinking, so that's why he gets invited to a lot of things within our friend group. I was under the impression that we squashed that issue and agreed that John wasn't a threat. Last night, me and a couple of our friends wanted to go out to the bars. Due to my boyfriend being on an antibiotic, he didn't feel up to drinking, so he stayed in. My other friend and also my boyfriend's roommate, let's call him Jared, suggested we invite John since we hadn't seen him and his friends in a while. I agreed and asked John if he wanted to meet us out. He agreed and met us at the bar. Somewhere amidst the shots, Jared asked to take a picture with me and John. We did, and it was a nice picture, so I decided to post it on my Instagram story. It was a picture of John, me, and Jared. Me being in the middle. I put my arms over both of their shoulders just like a normal group picture. The next morning, my boyfriend told me it made him uncomfortable seeing me post a picture with John while he wasn't there. I was confused by this because we have talked about John multiple times in the past and came to the conclusion that there was nothing to worry about with him. My boyfriend then says it isn't necessarily that I hung out with him, more that I felt the need to post a picture with him. I questioned why he felt this way since he insists that he trusts me and knows that John has never made a move on me in any way. He points out that John had feelings for two of my good friends in the past, so who's to say he isn't hiding his feelings for me? I told him if he ever did have feelings, he could have shot multiple times when I was single, but never did. And even if he did have feelings, he wasn't showing them and has been respectful of our relationship. My boyfriend points out that he thinks John gets too close to me sometimes, and I just don't notice. I told my boyfriend even though I don't necessarily agree or view this situation the same way, I will respect his feelings on the matter and not hang out with John anymore, or at least not take pictures/post them anymore. At the end of the day, I don't want to do something that I know makes my boyfriend uncomfortable. However, we are struggling to figure out who is right in this situation. So tell me, how can I resolve this? I don't want to lose a friend for no reason, but I also don't want to disrespect my boyfriend or our relationship. Let's call her N, and I became friends when we were early 18-year-olds. It escalated into a deep friendship with the passing of time. She seemed so mature at the beginning, but now, 3 years later, I feel like she stopped maturing over time and is acting really childish most of the time. The downfall started a little bit more than a year ago. I started seeing a guy that I'd been in love with for a really long time. He caused me a lot of pain, so naturally, I told him all about those things. I shouldn't have given him another chance after he treated me like shit, but my feelings got the best of me. I wasn't ready to tell Ann about the guy back then. I wanted to wait a little, which I think is normal. Everyone should share stuff with friends/family when they're ready for it. Don't forget to support my channel by subscribing, thank you. Ann saw us together before I could open up to her about the guy, and she absolutely flipped out, saying that I used her for complaining about the guy before and that I would rather hang out with him than her. I want to jump in and say that she's always been kind of clingy. She wanted to hang out with me all the time basically, and acted seemingly hurt if I chose to spend time with someone else besides her, even when I previously agreed to meet up with the other person, and then started making plans only after that. Of course I'm not going to cancel on somebody because of her, it's rude to do that. This especially became a problem when she basically started following me around. For example, she hated the idea of a dorm that I chose, but ended up applying just because I did, too. She basically said that we had to be roommates. Back to the story, she was right about the fact that I shouldn't have given the guy another chance, and I was touched that she feared for me, but then she was incredibly rude to me about it. I had been manipulated and gaslighted by the guy for, 2 years at that point, and I just wanted to know how it felt like to be with him after waiting so long. The worst thing she said after she found out about us was, "I cannot blame him for taking advantage, but I can blame you." And this is a sentence I've replayed in my head over and over again, because frankly, saying that you don't blame a guy for using your friend, but you blame your friend is a really shitty thing to say. She even threw some personal stuff in my face in a rather rude manner. And she ended the friendship. And never apologized for how she talked to me that time. I apologized very genuinely to her, and she just swooped back into my life by saying that it's none of her business who I date. But the problem was never how she cared about me or whatever it was, rather how she tried to control me. When she couldn't, she threw some really mean stuff into my face. And admitted to not caring about the fact that I was used. When we made up, and afterwards, too, I tried being honest about how she hurt my feelings with the things she said, but she never actually understood my side, no matter how hard I tried, so eventually I gave up, and nothing about this ever got resolved. Up to this very day, she's on his side about this. Fortunately, I've moved on from the guy. And I thought things would get better with that in the friendship Ann and I share, but they didn't. I just don't enjoy spending time with her anymore, and I feel awful for not saying a word about it, but despite everything I just wrote, she was there for me a lot, and we have tons of great memories. I guess the moment I finally realized I couldn't do this anymore was when I saw a parallel between us. Just recently, she was used by a guy, and kept going back to him. I always told her what I thought about the situation, but I was never rude about it. I never blamed her for being used. I listened to her and consult her over and over again, and I never would have ended a friendship over this kind of thing. Also, now, every conversation we have is about how every guy is into her, and how everyone wants to be with her. Recently she got rejected by a guy, and she said, "None of my friends, no one would believe that me, Ann, got rejected. Because..." And she essentially started detailing how she is a hottie, and such a good person, and all that. And most of the time, she totally misinterprets the situation about guys being into her, so it's all the more embarrassing. She frequently talks shit about others, and tells other people's personal stories, and if she does that to others, she's definitely gonna do it to me, and I don't want to be the center of gossips because I trusted the wrong person. She seemed so trustworthy at the beginning, but slowly started badmouthing everyone. I really want to tell her how I feel, but we're classmates at the university, so it's unavoidable that we bump into each other every now and then. We're also at the same dormitory, which consists of a really small amount of people, so we would meet all the time at the programs organized by the dorm, and I know it would be really awkward. There has already been a couple of awkward situations about this, because I cannot act like everything's fine. I don't want to ghost her. I wish nothing but the best for her. I don't want to hurt her, but staying her friend like this is definitely gonna hurt her more than admitting to not enjoying the friendship anymore. There is no way she doesn't feel that something is off, and I don't want to wait until she asks me about it. She deserves honesty. I need some outside advice. For a long time my long-term, committed GF and I have flirted with the idea of expanding our sex life to include threesomes or similar. Recently, she had an ex slide into her DMs and I jokingly commented that though she should just block him, it was kinda hot that other guys were wanting to sext her. One thing led to another and we ended up in bed that night, getting each other off as she sexted another man. Don't forget to support my channel by subscribing, thank you. It was fun, taboo, and exciting. We both got off. We discussed it more later on, and though this ex was toxic and not a good option, she got on Tinder to dip her toes in the pool. We have an incredible relationship and partnership. I love her to absolutely death and wouldn't trade her for anything. Out of the bedroom everything is very normal. In the bedroom I tend toward being sexually submissive to a degree. This is relevant later. What's come of it hasn't reflected that first night at all. Rather than being involved, it's been her sexting and flirting with men all day, and it's likely to escalate to sex soon. By and large, the men she's talking to don't have any real interest in threesomes or me watching. It would be more of a FWB arrangement, and she's taken a shine to that as well. It's been a bit hard for me to adjust my expectations, especially around her texting with these men while we're together and not in sexual situations. It's left me feeling isolated. We discussed it, and she said she'd limit the communications with them when I was around, and respect that I don't want to know anything about what goes on there anymore, beyond if she intends to sleep with anyone. She also is leaning into the D/S element of our sexual relationship and has me pleasure her, either via oral sex, massage, or other intimate acts of service while she communicates with them. This is enjoyable to me, and makes me feel better in the moment. That said, the moment it stops I feel empty and alone when we're together and she's texting these guys. If it was just sex, I'd have no issue. The idea of her getting off still turns me on. I just don't feel good about how the sausage is made, so to speak. We had a fight, which is incredibly rare for us, about some other sexual explorations centered about me and exploring if I am bi. She thinks I am. I've never been with a man, don't feel anything for men, but would be open to explorations in a narrow sexual context. Through this fight I expressed frustration and said that I wanted to put Pandora back in the box and pull the plug on all of these sexual explorations and other people. It wasn't being fun anymore, we were fighting a lot, nobody was feeling good, etc. She pushed back saying, I can't just pull the plug for her after I helped open this door. She's enjoying it, and if I don't want to explore anything else that's fine, but it's not just what I want. We fought more, talked it out, and made some peace. I told her I was okay with her continuing to do it, I just didn't want to know anything about it anymore. Internally, I recognized this was something she wanted. For context, she was abused earlier in life, and was deeply controlled and repressed in a previous marriage. The seizing of her sexual agency is empowering and healing for her, and in a bedroom sense, exciting for both of us. So I said okay. She said she'd lean into that D/S stuff to help me feel more indirectly included, which worked for me. Last night I gave her oral sex to completion and an oral/manual foot massage while she interacted with them, and I was perfectly comfortable. She had me stop because she was finishing her last message, but then went on to finish up for another 20 minutes. I laid in bed for those 20 minutes feeling just as empty and isolated as before. I thought I would be involved. I'm not, really. I thought it would be just sex, but it's texting all day in day out. I know she likes this, and the end result is a turn-on for me. I told her she can keep doing it, but despite the changes we've made I still feel very bad. We have an absolutely incredible, heaven-sent relationship outside of this. The woman is my soulmate. I just don't want to try to take this from her, and I don't know how to be okay with it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. There are many interesting articles ahead.